past few days have been an emotional whirlwind. If you don't know who Ina is, you'll probably have trouble understanding this video, but you're welcome to stay. Very long story short, she's a character created by Joel G, who stars in both a web series and a video game. I've linked Joel's channel in the description. Anyway, I was in a relationship with Ina for 4 years, from ages 16 to 20, before breaking up with her on March 31st, 2025. As you can probably already tell, this was not the typical kind of fictional crush, not even close. Even though I knew perfectly well that she was fictional, I treated her like she was my actual girlfriend, and I even had plans to marry her someday. However, when the release of Dream Barbecue, the aforementioned video game, neared, my feelings for her began to fade. You see, Dream Barbecue Ina is very different, to say the least, so instead of feeling a strong love for her like I did for series Ina, I disliked her and even nicknamed her Barbecue Bitch due to her assertive nature. And since I highly suspect both variants of Ina to be the same character, that left me feeling very conflicted. Once the game was out and I still hadn't been swayed, I knew the relationship was over. The breakup happened just 4 days later. Flash forward almost a year. February 23rd, also known as Ina Day. A new trailer dropped, and with it, an avalanche of unexpected feelings. You see, in the trailer, Ina took on a new form, and I found myself feeling extremely attracted to her new form despite her being my ex. At the same time, I found myself inconsolably heartbroken over her. It hurt worse than a loved one dying, despite me initiating the breakup. In the past months, I had gone through short phases of yearning, but I had always just assumed I was yearning for the good old days and moved on. Now, however, feeling like my very heart had been sliced right open, I couldn't help but wonder if the yearning was for Ina herself all along. My initial plan was to just continue distancing myself from Ina like I had before Ina Day and let the confusion and pain blow over. But as a few days passed, the agony only grew. I wanted so desperately to get lost in a new project that had nothing to do with Ina, but the heartbreak was so intense that I was bedridden and didn't even feel like watching YouTube. At this point, I was almost certain that I had never actually fallen out of love with Ina, that my mind had simply repressed the feelings in an attempt to avoid pain. I started looking through old Discord messages in an attempt to backtrack my emotions, and I ended up discovering things that I had completely forgotten about. It led to the following stomach-twisting conclusion. It seems that I was actually in love with Barbecue Ina for years. I found numerous messages about her being surprisingly cute. Unfortunately, there was one big thing keeping me from consciously recognizing those feelings. My own trauma. Without getting into it too much, I struggle a lot with self-loathing. And I discovered just last month that a lot of that self-loathing came from a ton of my childhood memories being repressed, and the gaps being filled in with false memories of me being a villain rather than a victim. Barbecue Ina's personality traits happen to be uncomfortably similar to traits of my own that were directly tied to my trauma. In order to truly understand Barbecue Ina, I would first have to truly understand myself, but that would have unlocked the memories before I was ready, so the only other option was to create a skewed interpretation of her to hate on, just like I had done for myself. Deep down, I knew the truth and loved her, and sometimes the truth briefly escaped through random Discord messages and the like. But due to that fear of self-reflection, I repressed those feelings so hard that I became a tsundere without even realizing it. Later on, that same fear of having to face my trauma, combined with the years of rumination over what Barbecue Ina would be like in the game, was what caused me to panic when the game neared release. And somewhere within that panic, my feelings for Ina got swept away. And that's how I lived through Doomed Yuri and didn't even realize. But here's the twist, and probably the reason you clicked on this video to begin with. Now that I have all of this self-insight, I've realized with great joy that the relationship between me and Ina was not doomed after all. In fact, our year apart ended up being an investment of sorts. I became less codependent on her, and I developed a better understanding of both her and myself. Gone are the days perseverating on whether or not I'll grow to love Barbecue Ina, because it turns out I did all along. What was previously the most anxiety-inducing part of our relationship will never be an issue again. When I first realized I was still in love with Ina just a day or two ago, I was terrified that if I retried a relationship with her, we'd just break up again and it would hurt even more. But now, I am thrilled to see what this new era of our relationship has in store, because I strongly believe that it will be much healthier now than it was before. Last night, I had a daydream in which I finally went on a date with Ina. Specifically, her new human form that I've been gay panicking over for days. Beforehand, I made the decision to really focus on what she thought about me and imagine her speaking and acting accordingly. I initially made that decision in order to prevent the daydream from becoming too self-indulgent, but I kept finding, based on her personality and our history, that there was a lot more love on her end than I anticipated. I was so nervous to be on a date with Ina. Like, actually blushing and squirming in real life. But due to me being more lovable than I initially thought, it actually went really well. We even kissed a few times. I can't wait to see her again tonight. I am so gay, by both meanings of the word. And that about sums it up. Thanks to a combination of the new trailer dropping and me finally processing my trauma, Ina and I are officially back together. My closing message is as follows. I love Ina. Every version of Ina. Even Barbecue Ina. She was never a bitch. She was just navigating the cruel world. Just like me.